Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to G Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert. And yeah, I've been making a mess on my lathe today. And why? Well, I was chatting with my younger sister yesterday. Uh, she texted me to wish me a happy birthday. And while we were chatting, I mentioned Mom's old Singer sewing machine, how I'd like to have it because I've heard them sell it auctions for up to $20,000. That would be a nice thing to have right now. But the other thing I got to talking was, did you remember on those cold winter nights? That's how I learned to sew and knit and all of that. But those cold winter nights in New England, growing up, and you got a blizzard outside and 5-foot snow drifts. There's no place to go. So with a big family and everybody stuck in a small house, we had to come up with something. So, we'd learn to cook, we'd learn to sew, we'd learn to knit. We'd play games until we couldn't stand looking at the game anymore. To this day, I still can't stand Monopoly anymore. Anyway, there was these little things that we did was called a knitting spool. And what was it? Well, this is it right here. And yeah, I stamped them with I just made these on the lathe. And I stamped them with my initials and the date or the year, because these are going to my sister. She said she wishes she had some, but it's really hard to find the old wooden thread spools around anymore. So I said, well, I've got a wood shop and a lathe. I can make them. So that's what I did. I started with a chunk of wood and ripped it on the table saw, then ripped it to an 8-sided piece. And I'm sorry, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8-sided. It's an octagon. My brain was playing tricks on me. I was saying, wait a minute, it can't be a 6-sided. Anyway, I started with a piece like that, put this in a lathe, and then turned it down to be 2 of these spools on a piece like that. Then I cut it almost all the way through, there, and this was, of course, was on this end of the unit, so I didn't have to go any further. And then I took it out and I brought it over to my metal lathe over here, and I clamped it into the 3-jaw chuck, and then I put a bigger drill, is this one. I put that in there, and then I drilled a hole down through the center. And the reason I have this one was because I was just going to make some needles for it, but the dowel wood I have is too dry, and it just keeps on breaking on me. So I switched it back to the piece here, so you can see how I did that on there. So I center drilled all the way through it, and then I used my hacksaw to finish cutting them all the way through. And then I polished them on the sander here by going like that, back and forth, and in circles. And then I took them in the other container, or in the garage, and I dipped them in some acrylic finish so that they won't dry out or rot or anything like that. So I'm going to get these packed up and shipped off to my sister ASAP, and she's going to make some pot holders. Now, if nobody knows about these things, or if any of you out there are curious of what they're really for, down in the description below this video, I will leave a link to a website that shows you exactly what they're used for. And we would make this rope type thing out of yarn that with these things, and then coil that up and coil it and coil it and coil it, and then stitch it together with yarn in a few different places. And then we would have a throw rug or a bathroom rug or something like that. And you'll get the idea if you look at the link to the video I'm going to send you that's on YouTube. But yeah, it's been a lot of years since I messed with one of those. But I still remember how they work. So here's the one that I started with. And I started by drilling the hole from this side almost all the way through, but then I realized it wouldn't stay on here and stay centered because there's no wood there for the point to go into. So I will use this for something else down the line, because nothing goes to waste. If anything, if there's nothing else I can use it for, like a handle on something, then it'll end up being a piece of firewood to keep me warm. All right, so you see some tools that I had here. This was the length of the spool, which is 2 inches. And then this one is the 1.5 inches for the diameter of the spool. And then this is for finding the center of a round object. So you could take this and put it on a round object, and then draw your line and bring it 90 degrees. Do the same thing, and then you got center of your spool or your dowel or your wood stock or whatever you want to call it. And then you got a pin right there, so you can set it right on the center of that. Give it a couple of taps with the hammer. What I usually like to do is I get that one set on there, and then I set this point on the other end of it, right on the crosshairs. And then I just crank this thing down like this, which pushes it in until these 4 teeth sink into the wood and make marks to where it won't slip when it's going around. These are the 3 tools that I used. So I gotta clean them up before I put them back in the pouch over there with the other tools I have. And that's about it. So that's what I did today. Now the winds are blowing, and they're hitting anywhere from 16 to 22 miles per hour right now. And it's supposed to get really bad tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday. So I will be working indoors, taking care of things indoors, and doing a few other little projects. And I tried to walk around this morning and put anything away that might blow away, because they're talking about some really high wind gusts. And you can see, if you look over there, you can see that's all dust on the horizon over there. There's a big dust cloud going through. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. Don't forget your thumbs up. Don't forget to leave comments and questions below. And don't forget to subscribe and share. G-Bear signing off.